We are building the missing operators project from the YByte curriculum. We are at a point where a question is asked and our project is able to determine whether the answer we gave is correct or not. For example, here the answer is, say, multiply, and indeed it is determined to be the right answer as we have seen previously. Now is the time for us to extend this game to 3 numbers. But before we go there, let's just take a step back and see what all we need to do so. In fact, clearly there are 3 things that need to be done. Number 1, obviously we need 3 numbers, which means we need to get one more number here. Now we could get that by asking the user to provide us one, or we could also choose the route where we pick up a random number, which is I think interesting because that adds a bit of randomness to the game. We need to use 2 operators now. So previously was only say plus, minus, multiply. Now because there are 3 numbers, so there have to be 2 operators. And this is where this game gets quite interesting, because to determine the right hand side now requires a little bit more care, since these operators may not have equal precedence, which means we may have to do some operator before something else, like we do in algebra, like say in BODMAS, but we will come back to that point a little bit later. Finally, we need a mechanism to interpret the answer given by the user. Previously we saw we could use a list to do this. Again, a similar mechanism has to happen, but we will again come back to this later. So let's just get started with the first one, getting the third number. I come into my code again. I just give, for example, 2 empty print statements, which remember will just create empty lines on the console just for the readability. So I do one more of this print statement. And now I get a third number randomly by just saying num3 is equal to random dot rand int and say 1 to 100. Now when I run this code, so obviously right now the game is only two numbers, let's say. So I said 12 and 67. This is a plus. But if I look at, so notice that 2 empty print statements have been created. If I look at num3, indeed it is there and it's 93. Now this may look very simple till now, but I do want to make a point. Let's say I had made some mistake and I had not unindented these print statements and this num3. Now this is become very interesting, because according to the Python interpreter, all of this have become a part of else, which means that if I answer the question correctly, then none of this will get done, because remember, if else is fundamentally a T-junction. On the other hand, if I get the answer wrong, then I'll get a num3 created, and this is very interesting. We can see this in action. Let's say I say, I run this code, please tell me a number, say 12, say 20, 23. Now it's saying 12 minus 23 is minus 11. So I'm going to say minus. It tells me well done. Notice none of these gaps is to be seen. If I try num3, it's going to give me an error because it doesn't know what num3 means. Remember, I gave the answer correctly and hence this part did not even get executed. On the other hand, if I get this answer wrong, let's say I come in here, I said 12, say 34, the answer is multiply. If I give a plus, it tells me terrible, all right, but notice these 2 prints are created. And this time round num3 is indeed available. So the big point here is that be very careful with indentations. As I've said before, we do not want this to be a part of the if or else. In fact, we want this to be independent. That's why we must unindent this, so that this part of the code always gets implemented. Now when you run this, no matter whether you get the answer right or wrong, so let's just say 10 and say 6. 10 minus, so it has to be 10 plus 6 is 16. I got the answer right, but still num3 has been created and it happens to be 97. So I hope you get the idea that indentation is actually very important here, as was illustrated here. Again, if you enjoy this mode of learning, doing activities, going step by step, building them in a logical step-by-step manner, then look at our website. You'll find many such instructional videos. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.